And I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Tom Cole of Oklahoma. He also serves as the Deputy Majority Whip. Congressman, thanks for joining us. We interviewed one of your counterparts on the other side of the aisle earlier, Keith Ellison, about the Democrats, their effort to get to 218 seats in a majority. He expressed confidence this fall. Let me start on the same question, actually, I started on with him, because we've got a new report here on NBCnews.com today that Republicans out there see Hillary Clinton as a weapon who's going to help them retain the House, that they're using her in some of their campaign messaging. Let me ask you this way. What does it say about a Republican Party that their best weapon in a political campaign would be somebody who's been who ran for office 2 years ago and lost?
Well, I think you stress the themes you need to stress to win, but I don't see that as a decisive element in the next election. And frankly, I'd be running a lot more on the tax cuts, a lot more on the deregulation of the economy, a lot more on just the strength of the economy than I would be looking at the rearview mirror at Hillary Clinton.
Well, one of your colleagues there on the Republican side, Ryan Costello from Pennsylvania, from those suburbs right there near Philadelphia, they had a change in the redistricting there recently. He went from being in a very tough race to being in a very, very tough race, and he announced that he is going to be leaving the House, not running. Here's what he said, a little bit of what he said on his way out. Let me play that and ask you about it.
It is very difficult, though, for what I would call your centrist Republicans, and I think that I would be categorized as that. It's a very challenging political environment, to be sure. What I've found is that no matter how much you speak out, those who don't support the president, it's not going to be enough for them. And at that moment in time, you get really stridently pro-Trump Republicans bothered at you because you're not defending the president.
See, he's basically saying you cannot, as a Republican right now, you cannot simultaneously keep the pro-Trump Republican base happy and, in his case, win over enough swing voters in a suburban district like that to survive. Is that true?
Well, I don't think so. And look, I really regret losing Ryan. He's a great member of Congress, and that's just frankly a situation where they redistricted, redrew his lines. I think he would have won that seat as it was constituted, but when you move it from basically an even seat to a Democrat +9 in what's going to be a challenging year, he probably made a smart decision. But no, look, we were a broad coalition. I think you can speak to different elements in that coalition in different ways, different times.
But when you see the sort of the totality of what we've been looking at in these special elections over the last year and a half, you've had obviously the most recent one in Pennsylvania. You had a big swing. That was a district Trump had won by 20. Democrat wins the special election. We had a number of special elections for the House last year where Democrats shaved, 15, 20 points off the margin that Trump had won those districts by. If you take even a further step back from that and you look at these state legislative races, you've had scores of them where there have been double-digit movement away from the Trump margin in 16 toward the Democrats. Do you look at that and say there's a wave coming?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a very challenging election environment. Nobody's had a good off-year election since 2002. So I think Republicans be well advised to get ready. Now, fortunately, I think we are. I don't think there's any complacency. We've got very good candidates. We've got a great campaign committee. We've got good things to run on because of what this Congress and this administration have accomplished. And finally, I think we'll be well funded. So I think we're ready. But look, the environment unquestionably favors the party out of power, just as it always does at every midterm.
Let me ask you about the news the president made today and how that feeds into the conversation we're having, because he went on Twitter this morning, as I think you know, and he talked about DACA. And he seemed to suggest, and not just suggest, to flat out say there's not going to be a DACA deal. You know as well as I do, when you poll that question of DACA, it's overwhelmingly popular, the idea of having these protections for these kids, not just with Democrats, but with Republicans, too. If the president's posture is no DACA deal, what's that going to do to the Republican Party?
Well, let's wait and see. Look, I think the president's actually laid out the most reasonable DACA deal of all, which was not only doubling the size of the population because he included people that, frankly, weren't in the program but were eligible. He added in a path to citizenship, but he asked for pretty reasonable reforms. Border security, end of the visa lottery system, and a measure to deal with chain migration. The Democrats had a week in the Senate, couldn't put anything together that could attract 60 votes. So I think the president's actually shown more sincerity on this issue and more flexibility than his opponents.
He's saying no deal now. What does that mean to you? Does that mean no deal?
Again, I've always been suspicious that Democrats wanted a deal. Look, they love the immigration issue. They don't solving the problem very much. So that's just the reality of it. That was true under President Obama. It's true again. They make a lot of promises on immigration. President Obama himself promised to have a bill within 100 days of his inaugural back in 2009. That just never happened. So again, they're very skilled at exploiting the issue, not very good at solving it.
I want to ask you about somebody you know from Oklahoma politics, the EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt. Revelations here that he and his family were renting out a condo in D.C. owned by the wife of an energy lobbyist, the EPA Administrator, an energy lobbyist. You could see the potential conflict there. Chris Christie was on Sunday shows today saying this is a very terrible problem. He can't see how he could survive it. Should Scott Pruitt resign?
No. Look, he's been an extraordinarily effective EPA administrator. He's been a very loyal advocate for the president. I think he was right on the Paris Accords. So, look, it's my understanding that he's not there anymore. This was a temporary arrangement while he was finding housing in D.C. So, again, the truth always comes out in these matters. So we'll see what happens. But it's interesting to me that the criticism tends to be things that are tangential to his performance in office. He's done a good job over at the EPA. I hope he stays.
Well, the reporting, though, was that he got some favorable terms here. He himself was in a room, I think, within this condo during the transition period. His daughter was also in it for a period, but that he got favorable terms. That doesn't raise any alarm bells for you in terms of maybe too cozy with the folks he's supposed to be regulating, keeping an eye on?
Well, look, I would be a little more careful. I've known Scott since he was a state senator in Oklahoma, and he is one of the most ethical and honorable people I know. I don't think these kind of things have any impact on what he would do in office. I think in Washington, D.C., you do have to protect yourself from gotcha moments. But do I have any doubt about his personal integrity? I don't. Do I have any doubt about his professionalism? I don't have any doubt about that either. He's a very effective office holder.
All right, Congressman Tom Cole, Republican from Oklahoma. Thanks for taking a few minutes.
Thank you.